So what if you could just escape the whole 9 to 5 grind? Not in 40 years when you retire, but like right now. That is the wild, radical promise of Tim Ferriss's book, The 4-Hour Work Week. It's a book that pretty much took our ideas about work, life, and retirement and just flipped them completely upside down. So let's dive in and break down the core ideas. You know this script we're all taught, right? Work hard, climb that corporate ladder, invest your money. It all sounds so responsible. But have you ever actually stopped and asked, why? I mean, really, why are we doing all this? We say it's for the money, but is that really the end goal? What are we actually chasing here? Because, it's not really about the cash itself. Money's just a tool. The real goal, the thing we all truly want, is what that tool can buy us. We're talking about the freedom to control your own time, the mobility to live and work from anywhere you want, and the options to do what actually makes you excited to get out of bed in the morning. That is the real prize. And this brings us to this really cool idea from the book The New Rich. And no, this isn't about having a 7-figure bank account. The new rich have figured out this incredible secret. You do not need to be a millionaire to live like one. They're all about prioritizing that freedom, that time, that mobility, those options, right now, not in some distant, maybe never comes retirement. Okay, so how do you actually become one of them? Well, Ferriss gives us this super simple 4-step framework that he calls the deal. And that acronym, well, that's our roadmap. So let's break it down, letter by letter. First up, we've got D for definition. And this is absolutely crucial. See, before you can change your life, you have to completely redefine the rules of the game you're playing. It's all about changing what wealth and success actually mean to you. And to really see what I mean, let me just ask you a question. Just take a look at these two people. Who do you think is truly the richer one? Okay, so at first glance, the investment banker pulling in 500 grand a year, that seems like a no-brainer, right? That's what we call absolute income. But now, look at that hours worked line. The banker is grinding out a soul-crushing 80 hours a week, while our entrepreneur is working just 4. So when you do the math and look at their relative income, basically their hourly rate, the entrepreneur is actually making almost double. Yeah, they have less cash in total, but they are way, way richer in the only currency that really matters, their time and their freedom. Ferriss has a great name for this idea. He calls it the freedom multiplier. The real value of your money just skyrockets depending on how much control you have over these 4 things: what you do, when you do it, where you do it, and maybe most importantly, who you do it with. The banker has basically 0 control. The entrepreneur has total control. This is the big idea here. Relative income supercharged by freedom is the real money of the new rich. All right, let's move on to our second letter, E for elimination. This is all about one simple but powerful idea. Stop doing useless things. It's about learning the art of being effective, not just being busy. I absolutely love this quote from the book. We live in this culture that glorifies the hustle. But Ferriss argues that being constantly busy, well, it's actually a form of laziness. It's a way to avoid doing the really hard thinking required to figure out what actually moves the needle. And this highlights a huge distinction we need to make: the difference between being effective and being efficient. Being effective means you're doing the right things, the tasks that actually produce results. Being efficient just means you're doing things well, whether they're important or not. And like Ferriss says, doing something unimportant really well doesn't magically make it important. The goal is always, always effectiveness. So how do we do this? Well, the main tool in your toolbox is something called Pareto's Law. You've probably heard of it as the 80-20 rule. And it's simple. For most things in life, 80% of your results will come from just 20% of your efforts. Your job is to find that critical 20%. Which customers, which products, which tasks are giving you the biggest bang for your buck, and just pour your energy there while ruthlessly getting rid of everything else. The second powerful tool for elimination is Parkinson's Law. And you know this one from experience, right? If your boss gives you a week to do a task that should take 2 hours, somehow it takes the entire week. Work just expands to fill whatever time you give it. So what's the solution? You create urgency. Give yourself 2 hours, not 2 days. It forces you to cut the fluff and focus only on what's absolutely essential. Okay, now we get to the really fun part. A is for automation. So once you've eliminated all the junk, the next step is to build systems that run without you. The goal is to become what Ferriss calls the ghost in the machine. You want to own the system, not be the one operating it every single day. Look, the entire point here is to remove yourself as the bottleneck. And this isn't just about software, it's about delegating tasks to other people. Here's a great rule of thumb from the book. If someone else can do a task even 80% as well as you can, you should probably delegate it. Your time is just too valuable to be spent on anything that isn't in that critical, high-impact 20%. A fantastic way to get your feet wet is to hire a virtual assistant. And here's where Ferriss uses this clever trick called geographic arbitrage. Basically, earning in a strong currency like dollars while paying for services in a place where the cost of living is lower. If you're going to try this, here are the key tips. Pay per task, not per hour. Always test someone out with a small, low-risk project first. And just like with your own work, give them short, crystal-clear deadlines. And that brings us to the final and maybe the most thrilling piece of the whole puzzle, L for liberation. This is the big payoff. You've redefined your goals, you've eliminated the waste, you've automated your income, and now the final step is to cut the cord and untether yourself from any single location. Now, if you're an entrepreneur and you've built an online business, this step is pretty straightforward. But what if you're an employee? You can't just pack your bags for Bali tomorrow. For employees, liberation is all about a very careful, very strategic negotiation. And Ferriss actually lays out this brilliant 5-step playbook for exactly how to do this. Step 1, you get your company to invest more in you, like through a training course. It's harder for them to say no to someone they've just spent money on. Step 2, and this is the clever bit, you call in sick for a day or two, but you work from home and you are more productive than you have ever been. Step 3, you take that increased output to your boss and you frame it as a massive win for the company. Step 4, you propose a trial run that they can cancel at any time, say just working from home 1 or 2 days a week. And finally, step 5, once you prove it works, you just gradually expand those remote days until, boom, you are completely free. So there you have it. That is the deal framework in a nutshell. And it's a really clear sequence, right? First, you redefine what wealth even means. Then you eliminate all the work that just doesn't matter. Next, you automate what's left so it runs without you. And finally, you liberate yourself from the chains of a physical office. Because at the end of the day, the goal of this entire system isn't really just about working less, it's about living more. So the final and honestly the most important question here isn't about the how, it's about the why. If you truly had total freedom, no constraints on your time or your location, what would you really do? That is the powerful question sitting right at the heart of the 4-hour workweek.